Welcome to Legacy Unscripted, sponsored by Progeny Coaching. This is the podcast where sports and business collide. I'm your host, Russ Katzman, and here we'll skip the fluff and get straight to the hustle. From athletes turned entrepreneurs to impact-driven business leaders, we'll dive into the wins, the losses, and some of those lessons that we learn along the way that make our legacies worth living. Today, we're excited to welcome Josh York, a member of the CEO's 35 Under 35 Club and founder and CEO of GYMGUYZ, America's fastest growing in-home and on-site fitness franchise. Josh, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me, Russ. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. We are as well. So I want to get right into this. You have, by all accounts, changed thousands of lives with what you've done with GYMGUYZ. Why was that important to you? What was it that drove you to change those lives?
Absolutely. It's actually hundreds of thousands of lives. And, I always say it's great to make a living. It's much better to make a difference. And I'll never forget getting into business, thinking about, I just want to make a lot of money. I want to make a lot of money. I want to make a lot of money. That's usually how it starts out. But it's not really all about the money. You want to also have purpose too. And I'm big into having a great purpose and being able to not just make a living, but make a difference. And it's the most incredible thing. I have a folder, a couple dozen handwritten thank yous I've gotten from people. I've had people call me up over the years, especially, parents of children. We do a lot of stuff, in the autistic community, which is really great and rewarding. And, I've had people literally call the office that I personally called back myself, who literally cried on the phone, of just, pure joy of what we've been able to do for family members. And it's incredible. You get a call from a brother and a sister that we gave their parents 10 more years of their life because they've got into an exercise routine. They were very unhealthy. It's a really great thing. And I've always wanted to be able to change lives on the consumer side and on the business side. And I'm be able to accomplish both in this great business model that I started in my parents' dining room.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Now, take us back to that just a little bit. That initial, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to get there. What was it about the gym environment? Why did you think that was your avenue to changing lives?
Well, I was always in the gym environment, and the gym environment doesn't really work well, so I had a client come in late one day and just said, I wish you could really come to my house. I just don't have any equipment. And it kind of stuck with me. And I was just like, this is like just such a simple idea. No one's actually ever professionalized it before.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. And that's when I came up with the brand GYMGUYZ, came up with the name GYMGUYZ as an acronym for Get You Motivated, Goals Uniquely Yours, Zero Excuses. Came up with the logo, wrapped the van, stocked it with enough equipment to provide you a fantastic workout 365 days a year, backed by our 3 C's, convenient, customizing, creative, and go out and service clients anywhere: home office, pool, park, place of worship, hospital, senior homes, assisted living facilities. And today, we are the largest in the world, not just in America, but we service thousands of cities. We're about to be in 6 countries. We're in 30 states and continuing to rapidly grow and expand. And, bottom line is we're the future of fitness.
That's incredible. I love it. So how is it then that you could take your personal drive and, you are a very driven individual, very to the point, just the typical CEO we would want. How can you take that drive and transfer that into dozens and hundreds of franchisees?
You have to create the right culture, right? The culture will dominate over everything. You can have a really great plan, but if you don't have a good culture, you're never going to win, right? Culture will really dominate over everything. So it starts with a good culture. It starts with core values. It starts with instilling those values. And it starts with really being able to understand and train so people, are able to understand how things need to operate. And as I always say, good leaders lead by example, and good leaders create other good leaders. And it's very important to be a good leader, and very important to understand how to become a good leader. And it's not easy, right? You have to, learn a lot, and it takes time before you can really start to understand what it's like to really be a leader. Because in the beginning, when you start out, you have no idea what you're doing, right? So I always say leadership is caught. It's not taught, right? You got to learn through, tons of different mistakes, errors you're going to make, and a lot of embarrassment, right? But that's part of the game, and you're going to pay a price. So would you rather pay it now or pay it later?
Yeah, So what was that price for you? What was that number one leadership lesson that you had to learn that you didn't know coming out of the gate?
Oh my God, we'd be here way too long if I went through all those different
Yeah.
different stories. But one in particular, I was very, very, I'd say, early in the game and had no really lack of experience. And when I started the business, I went through almost 60 trainers before I kept one for longer than 3 months, which
Oh,
is
wow.
obviously discouraging. It was just like just a revolving door nonstop. Like I had some people I hired, and after an hour they quit. And it took a very, very long time to be able to really get it off the ground and get things moving. And then you take a couple steps forward and you move like 10 steps back, right? And you have to pick up, and you gotta, you have to be very, very mentally resilient, and you have to be able to really love and enjoy pain. The more pain you can tolerate, the more pressure you can tolerate, the more successful you're going to be. That is just a fact.
So what was it about those early trainers, right? Was it they didn't buy into the business model? Was it they were the wrong people? What was it?
Well, I was working in my parents' dining room, which really wasn't professional. I was
Of
telling
course.
people the same thing I'm telling people today. We're going to be the largest in the world. And, now people actually believe it because we actually, have done something. And, we're in, a world headquarters, 18,000 square foot building, like we're not in my parents' dining room anymore. So, you really have to, it starts with a vision, right? You can't go anywhere without a vision. That's number one. Number two, you got to have energy, right? If you don't have energy and you're not able to really paint that picture with enthusiasm and passion and just like dripping desire of what it's going to take and how you want to do it, like you're not going to move that needle. So it was a lot of that in the beginning of having to like kind of tell people where we were going and how we were going to get there. And some people believed, they stayed on, and they're like, this guy's crazy, and then on to the next one. And the one thing I think really what's the key takeaway here is every time I've gotten knocked down, I just get up with a bigger smile on my face. Like I don't stop. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life when I started this business. And there's no plan B, right? If you have a plan B, you're 1,000,000% guaranteed to lose. Now, there's some rules to that because you got to obviously do something where there's demand for it. You got to do something where obviously it's working, right? If you're trying to do something and it's been years and you've got no
Yeah.
customers, you have no revenue, well, then you need to really rethink what you're doing. But if you have something where there is a demand, you have something that solves some type of problem and it's actually working and you're getting leads, and look, you might not be getting a ton, but if you're getting some and people are interested, you know it's working. It's definitely working. You just might have to take more action. You might got to do more marketing. You got to start to raise some money. There's many, things that you can piggyback off that of what you would have to do. But if you start there and, you just don't have a backup plan, you're guaranteed to win. Guaranteed. It could take 10 years. It could take 20 years. It could take 15 years. It might take 30 years. Everyone's journey is different. You just got to stay focused and have that vision and take yourself back to that vision, because there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of painful, 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 painful times. And that's business. That's really business straight across the board, to be honest with
Yeah. It really is. It's part of the entrepreneurial lifestyle. It's why, as they say, if it was easy, everybody would do it,
you.
and
Yep.
everybody be able to succeed at it. So talk to me about the evolution of that vision. Do you have today what you envisioned at the start, or how has that evolved as you've come along?
Everything I've said, seen, drawn out, pictured, visualized obsessively in my head, pretty much every hour of the day, even when I'm sleeping, has come true and continues to come true. Here's the thing. I don't know why there's not more classes about this. Believe it or not, people do talk about it, but not a lot. Manifestation and visualization is very real. It's very
Huge.
real, and it's the most powerful thing you have. People don't realize, how you are, when you have the ability to train your subconscious mind. Like, even if I'm just walking into a supermarket, I'm thinking about my goals. I'm so serious about my goals. They're on my phone as my screensaver. Like, you have to be obsessed, right? And when you're obsessed, and the vision should never really change, it can change a little bit. But the basics of what that vision looks like, you need to have that from day one, because that's going to be the driving force for forever, to inspire, motivate, and make sure your team is on the same page with you. Because if they're not, and if you don't believe, no one's going to believe. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, people don't get specific enough about that vision to where they can feel it, right? I'm just getting ready to release an article this week, and I read a ton of Stephen King. I've got his books all through my office, and the thing I love about him is he'll take 140 pages to describe this room, right? And somewhere in the middle he'll have a wormhole or something, but that's beside the point, right? You can feel the room, you can see it, you can smell it, you can almost taste it. You know what it's like to be in that room. This is the
You,
type of thing that I'd love to see people do with their visions, right? They don't get
oh,
to a point of where they act as if they're already there, where they act as if this has happened already.
100%. It's pretty crazy. I actually drew this bill. I own this building.
Yeah.
I drew it 9 years ago. And if you look at an aerial view of the building of what I drew, you would pass out because it almost literally to the T looks exactly the same.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
I would stare every single day at that picture. I write my goals down. I have 148 now. It was 47. I have 148 notebooks that are in my closet, and I advise everyone to do this. And I share it because I know no one's going to do it, so it doesn't really matter. But and that's the sad thing. It's funny. One of my buddies actually posted this on Twitter, and it went viral. And Richard Branson commented on it
Oh, did
from
he?
Virgin Airlines. Not
Yeah.
not not. I need his validation. I already know it, but he said it was a brilliant habit. But every night before I go to bed, I write down. It used to be 10. Now it's actually 12. 12 goals every single night. And how it works is you write it down, and as you're writing it, you first write it down, then you say it out loud, and then you close your eyes and you see it. You picture it. You have some type of picture in your head. And then once you see that, boom, go to the next one. Now, these are not like, I'm going to make $50,000. These are like BHAGs, big,
Yep.
hairy, audacious goals. They're going to take years to accomplish. Some maybe sooner than others, but that list has changed so much over the last, my God, 18 years. I've been doing this 18 years. I've never, ever missed one night of my life. And the reason I tell people to do it before they go to bed is because most people I'm so tired, I'll just do it tomorrow. You do that, your dreams are never going to come true for you because you don't even have the discipline to stick to that. How long does it take? 3 minutes, 2 minutes to write down 10, 12 goals?
Yep.
But like what that does is that programs your subconscious mind, right? It's almost like you hanging around losers. If you hang around losers, you will become a loser. That is just a
Yep.
guaranteed fact, right? You hang around people who win, people who are smart, people who are doing big things, you will become a winner. They're like statistics behind it. Like if you work in an office space with someone who's a high performer and you're within like a certain amount, range from that person, you will continue to just elevate and grow yourself. So like I don't know why they don't teach these things more, but this is all legit stuff. And,
Yep.
I speak about it all the time. And I also instill these values into our franchise owners so they can also, be able to accomplish the same things. But I can't tell you how many lives I've changed, you know, on the goal setting side, just not customers.
Just
I'm
that.
talking just franchise owners, team members, corporate team members, just from instilling some of these values and some of these habits of what I'm a very big believer in.
Well, it doesn't demand much, but there's really no shortcut to it, right? Because even the idea of, well, I've got it on my phone, I'm just going to make sure I read them every night. That's not the same, right? It's not the same as writing them out every single night, getting it in you, forcing yourself to evaluate each of those 10 or 12 goals every single night and writing them out. I love that habit. So talk to me
Yeah.
about how you take those and translate them into strategy. What's the process for you
So
personally?
I'll give you an example. So one of something that I recently purchased, I for years would pretty much waste people's times by letting them show me these things. I don't want to get into the details of it, but we'll
Okay.
just say, for example, let's say it's a house, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to buy that house and you wanted to live in that house. You have to put yourself in that house and you have to arrive there before you actually even get it. So what I'm saying is if you want to buy a Ferrari, Well, you better start getting in Ferraris, sitting in them, going to dealerships, looking at them, pretend that you want to buy them. Maybe you might not be ready to do that yet. Well, you better get dressed up in a suit and look like you are ready to do that now, because you have to arrive there before you actually arrive there. It's very, very real. And I've been doing things like this since I'm 17 years old. And, I used to always think that I was weird. And, I have no problem being weird because normal doesn't work. But, all these weird habits and things I've done, it's really created all the success I have in my life.
That's terrific. So, what percentage of your franchise owners can adopt that style of mentality, right? How many of them come through, follow the things that you instruct or advise and actually succeed? And what percentage just can't quite make it?
Well, listen, you're always going to have top performers, you're going to have low performers, you're going to have people in the middle, right? That's in any
Right.
business model. But we got a lot of this. We really have amazing franchise owners, and we just have amazing people. So, the way I would answer that is everyone can accept it, right? But it's those who actually choose to implement it. But we do have a lot of people that live and breathe, what I say, and they're on board with it. And that's why they get into this brand. And once they start to instill these values and follow these processes, and we have special courses that I run personally myself, teaching these type of things so they can be the best and have the best things in their life. And that's one of the advantages of being in a great franchise. Not all franchises offer the type of things that we offer, but I'm very big on the support and providing unlimited access of just high level success to our franchisees.
I like it. So let's challenge you a little bit more. Take you back to a couple of those times over the years when things didn't go the way you wanted them to, and you had to pull yourself through. Give us an example or two on what are a couple of those things that you didn't expect that popped up and challenged you, and you had to find a way through it.
I'm just trying to think which one. It's just the list goes on and on. Trying to think about some things I haven't shared because there's a lot of stuff out there that I've shared already. All right, I'll give a good example. I had a very, very close team member of mine who I treated like family. I've done things for this person and their family that probably no one would ever do for any of their team members. And you notice I don't use the word employee. I don't like that word. I think it's a very degrading word. And I don't
Sure.
like the word boss because I think it's a degrading word. We have leaders here. We have team members. And people refer to me as the fearless leader, not the boss. I hate that when people call me the boss. But I went above and beyond for this person, did a lot of great things. And I guess, this person started to see that we were having massive success. So thought it'd be a great idea to, put a complaint in that I wasn't paying him appropriately. Filed a class
Mm.
action lawsuit with a lot of previous people who've been here, and they all tried to come after me. And really, in these scenarios, unless you have really, really, really good records, it's very, very hard to win cases like this. But fortunately, excuse me, not unfortunately, fortunately, my records are incredible. And, I would have been appreciated if this person would have approached me first and had a conversation with me, but just decided to just go the route of
Yeah.
get an attorney. They're going to do a pro bono. They have a huge case here. Well, long story short, they lost, right? Didn't win. Nothing happened. Didn't make a penny and no longer works here today. And what's so sad about the thing is that if that person stayed and would have kept working hard, oh my God, they would have had some career ahead of them. They would have been living the dream life if they stayed. But this is what happens. Like, it's just like why most people don't achieve success. They quit, and the next day could be the day that changes everything. People lack patience. You have to be patient with results and impatient with
Yeah.
action. And when you are, again, I said this before, I'll say it again, you're guaranteed success.
Patient with results, impatient with action. I like it. All right. Very good. What else do we need to know, Josh? What have you not had a chance to get out there that you've told one of your recent franchisees or one of your teammates that you just haven't pushed out to the world yet?
Um, uh, Listen, I would say this. Look, if you want to do something great, you have to understand that it's not going to be easy. Okay. The easy route will never take you to the place you want to be, right? The only route that's going to take you is the hard way. The hard way is the only way. It has to be hard. It has to be painful. And you have to have pressure, right? Pressure makes diamonds and you need it. And honestly, the person with the most pressure and who takes on the most pressure is going to be the most successful. So, I think you just need to, people just really need to take a step back and look at this, and look at themselves of what they're trying to achieve. And, like one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, oh, I tried it once, I tried it for a week. It might take you 10 years. Like, you don't try something once and twice. You have to keep going and never stop. And the reason most people don't succeed is because they quit, right? When you walk right into our headquarters, the first thing you see is we don't quit, because we don't ever quit. We don't have that type of mentality. We push, we get the job done, and we're resilient. And that's what you have to be too.
I think that's terrific. Thank you. I appreciate it, Josh. You have been an absolute pleasure to have on the show, and I appreciate you taking the time to share some of your insights with all of us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And thank you very much for having me. It was a blast.
All right. So with that, we will wrap this episode of Legacy Unscripted. If today's conversation sparks something in you, don't just let it sit. Take action today to build your future. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this with someone that may need to hear it. If you've got something to say or a story you want to share, connect with us and you know where to find me. Until next time, keep it real, keep it bold, and keep living your legacy.